Welcome back, night souls. The candle is lit. It's always lit. This is The Midnight Candles, Episode 5. Tonight, I have something different for you. Not a story someone told me, not a case from a file or a name from a newspaper. Tonight, I have a diary. 16 pages, written by hand, found in a storage unit in Long Island, New York, in 1991. The man who wrote it was 50 years old. He donated everything before he disappeared. No explanation, no forwarding address, just boxes. And inside one of those boxes, these pages. I've read them many times now, and every time, I wish I hadn't. His name was James. He was 16 when it started. This is his confession. Headphones on, lights off. And please, don't let anyone wind up old music boxes tonight.
August 3rd, 1958. We moved in on a Tuesday. Mum said it was a good sign, starting fresh on a weekday, like any normal thing. Like unpacking boxes and starting a new school and pretending this was just another house. It isn't. I knew it the moment we pulled into the driveway. Not because of anything I saw, because of something I didn't hear. No birds, no wind in the trees, just silence. The kind that feels like it's waiting for something. Dad said, "James, help with the boxes." So I helped with the boxes. His name is Thomas Aldrich, my father. He's the kind of man who fixes things, pipes, fences, problems. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, you listen. Mom is Eleanor. She makes everything feel normal, even when it isn't. She's been doing that my whole life. And then there's Danny, 6 years old, blonde hair, laughs at everything. He ran straight into the backyard the moment we arrived and didn't come back for an hour. I should have gone after him. I didn't know then that the backyard was where it started. 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. Our new home. God help us.
August 12th, 1958.
It's my fault, not Danny's. He was 6 years old. He was just playing. It was an afternoon like any other. Mom in the kitchen, Dad at work, me on the porch with a book I wasn't reading. Danny in the backyard, like always, digging, running, inventing worlds only he could see. Then he screamed. Not a scream of fear, a scream of excitement, the kind he makes when he finds something interesting. A bug, a strange rock, once even an old baseball glove. I got up. I went. He was kneeling near the large elm tree at the back of the yard, digging with his hands. The soil was loose, as if someone had already worked there a long time ago, and the ground had just settled back over it. "James, look!" It was metallic, dark, brass maybe, but a color I had never seen on brass. Almost black, as if it had absorbed something from the earth instead of oxidizing normally. We pulled it out together. It was a music box. Small, it fit in the palm of a hand. The surface was engraved with symbols I didn't recognize. Not letters, not numbers. Something older, or at least that's how it seemed. Like marks made by someone who needed to say something, without using words. I should have put it back in the ground. Danny wound it up before I could say anything. The music started. It was beautiful. I have to say that. It was genuinely beautiful. A simple melody, 5 or 6 notes repeating. The kind of music that feels like you've heard it somewhere before, in a dream maybe, or a long time ago as a child. But there was something wrong with it. Not in the notes. In the silence between the notes. As if the melody was saying something in the space between the sounds. As if the real message wasn't the music, but what the music was covering. Danny was laughing. I stood there holding that thing, and I couldn't stop listening. Then the music stopped, and from the back of the yard, from the exact spot where we had dug, something came that was not wind. Cold, just cold. In August. I put the music box in my pocket. I didn't tell Mom. I didn't tell Dad. I still don't know why.
August 19th, 1958.
Danny has a new friend. At least, that's what he says. He calls him simply him. He hasn't given him a name. When I ask what his name is, Danny smiles and says he hasn't told him yet. "But do you know him?" I asked him last night. "Yes," he said. "Always." He's 6 years old, I told myself. 6-year-old children invent imaginary friends. It's normal. It's just fantasy. I keep telling myself that even now, as I write. I don't believe it anymore. The first night after the music box, I didn't sleep. Not out of fear, not yet, because of that melody. It kept turning in my head, 5 notes, 6 notes, the silence between one and the next, like a thought you can't finish. Around 3 o'clock, I heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow. Regular. From the end of the hallway, all the way to my door. And then, still. I waited. Nobody knocked. Nobody opened. In the morning, I asked Mom if she had gotten up during the night. She said no. I asked Dad. He said no. Danny was sleeping. I had heard him breathing through the wall. A week later, Mom found the music box on the kitchen table. I had left it in my room, on the nightstand. I was sure of it. "Did you move it?" she asked me. "No," I said. She looked at me for a moment. Then she put the music box back on the table and never mentioned it again. That evening, Dad woke up at 3:15. I know because I heard him get out of bed. I looked at the clock, 3:15. The next day, I asked him why he had gotten up. He looked at me strangely. "I didn't get up," he said. "I slept all night." He wasn't lying. I'm sure of it. He didn't remember. And the windows on the upper floor, every morning, open. Both of them. Even when the night before, we had locked them shut. Dad says it's the wood. The summer heat works on the hinges. Mom says maybe we open them in our sleep without realizing. I've stopped saying what I think, because what I think is that something opens them from the inside. And it isn't us.
September 7th, 1958.
Dad is not Dad anymore. I don't know how else to say it. He's still him. Same face, same voice, same way of sitting at the table. But something inside him has shifted. Like a picture hanging crooked that nobody straightens. You look at it and you know something is wrong, but you can't point to exactly what. He talks little, even less than before. His eyes follow corners that don't exist. Last night at dinner I said something stupid, I don't even remember what, and he laughed. But he laughed half a second after everyone else, as if he had to wait to understand that it was the right moment to do it. Mom watches him and smiles, but at night I've heard her crying. 3 weeks ago I started following him, not during the day, at night. He always wakes up at 3:13. He always comes down the stairs. He always goes to the basement. The first time I waited on the landing, I heard his voice, low, continuous, as if he were reading something out loud, or answering someone. But there was nobody else in the basement. The second time I came down to the door, I opened it a crack. Dad was standing in the center of the room, back straight, arms at his sides, eyes open in the dark. He wasn't looking for anything. He wasn't watching anything. He was just receiving. He was speaking. I couldn't understand the words. They weren't English. They weren't any language I'd ever heard. They were sounds, guttural, precise, like someone reciting a part learned by heart in a dead language. Then he stopped. Silence. And from the darkness of the basement, something answered. Not a voice, not exactly. A low, continuous sound that seemed to come from the walls themselves, as if the house was breathing. I went back to my room. I didn't sleep. Danny that week stopped eating at the table. He says he isn't hungry. Mom insists. He eats a few bites and then stops. But he doesn't lose weight. He doesn't seem weak. I asked him where he gets his energy. He looked at me with those clear eyes he has always had. "My friend brings me food at night," he said. "What does he bring you?" He smiled. "I don't know, but it's good." The next day, Mom found the marks on the basement wall, the same symbols as the music box, traced with something dark. She said nothing. She closed the basement door. She put the key in her pocket. That evening I heard Dad come down the stairs at 3:13. The basement door was locked. I heard it open anyway.
September 21st, 1958.
I found the answer in the library. I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for anything. A meaning, an explanation, something that would turn what was happening in our house into something nameable. I had picked 3 books at random from the local history section. I read them in one afternoon. The 3rd book talked about the Shinnecock, the natives who lived on this land before us. Before the houses, before the roads, before Ocean Avenue and its neat driveways and its cut lawns. There was a chapter on containment rituals. They called it that, containment. Not exorcism, not purification. Containment. As if the thing they were describing could not be destroyed, only stopped. The ritual consisted of binding an entity to an object, not just any entity, something ancient, something that was there before men, something the Shinnecock called by a word the book did not translate. It only said, a nameless thing that inhabits boundary places, the spots where the world ends and something else begins. The object had to be metal, engraved with specific symbols, activated by a melody, a precise melody, composed specifically for that specific entity, like a name whispered into the ear of someone sleeping. As long as the melody was not played, the thing slept. If the melody was played, the door opened. I read the paragraph 3 times. Then I took the music box out of my pocket. The dark brass, the engraved symbols, the melody, 5 notes, 6 notes, the silence between one and the next. I understood. It cannot be closed again. Not in the same way. The book was clear on this. The containment ritual worked only once. The melody was the key, and a used key cannot be put back in the lock from the outside. From the outside. I read that word many times. From the outside. I went home with the book under my arm. Dad was sitting on the porch, watching me come up the driveway, smiling. It wasn't his smile. I held the book tighter and went inside without saying anything. That night I didn't sleep. I was thinking about that word, outside, and what its opposite meant.
October 3rd, 1958. Dad had a lucid moment. I don't know how to explain it. It was early morning, still dark. I found him sitting at the kitchen table with the Shinnecock book in front of him, the pages open on the containment chapter, his hands flat on the table as if he was trying to hold himself steady. He looked up as I walked in. It was him. For the first time in weeks, it was him. "Sit down," he said. I sat down. He didn't speak right away. He looked at the pages for a long moment. Then he closed the book, slowly, the way you close something sacred or something dangerous. "You understood," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," I said. "So did I." Silence. "We can't close it again," I said. "No," he said. "Not from the outside." He raised his eyes. He looked at me in a way I had never seen before. Not father to son, man to man, as if in that moment we were the same age. "Someone has to stay with it," he said. "No," I said. "James." "No. We find another way. There has to be another way." "There isn't." He said it without drama, without fear, as if he had already done the math and the result was clear. "If we all stay, it takes all of us. It's already inside me. I can feel it. It knows my name. It knows how I move. But if I stay, I can keep it occupied long enough for you to get out." "For how long?" He didn't answer. I understood what the silence meant. "Pack your bags," he said. "The 3 of you. Just the essentials. Tomorrow morning at dawn." "And you?" He looked at me. "I stay." That night I didn't write anything in the diary. I couldn't keep the pen still. October 4th, 1958.
The dawn was grey. Mum had packed 3 bags, no more. She hadn't said anything all night. I heard her moving through the house, opening drawers, closing them, as if she was looking for something to take and couldn't find it. Danny was still sleeping when we woke him. We told him we were going on a trip. He asked where. Mom said to Grandma's. He nodded and picked up his teddy bear without asking anything else. 6 years old. He didn't know anything. Dad was already up when we came downstairs, dressed, standing by the door, not sitting, not leaning, standing straight, like someone waiting for something he already knows is coming. Mom looked at him. She walked toward him and held him, tight, eyes closed. He rested his head on her hair. 10 seconds, maybe less. Then they separated. Danny gave him a high five, their thing, a stupid and beautiful ritual they had invented when Danny was 3 years old. Dad laughed, a real laugh, the last one. Then he looked at me. No words, just that look, man to man, again, like at the kitchen table. I nodded. He nodded. We walked out. I heard the door close behind us, softly, the sound of the bolt, 1, 2, turning from the inside. From the inside. We got in the car. Mom was driving. Danny looked out the window with his teddy bear in his arms. As we pulled out of the driveway, I looked at the house. The upstairs window, the one that always opened by itself, was open. And behind the glass, something was watching. Not Dad. I turned my head and never looked back.
November 1974. I am 40 years old. I have a wife, 2 kids, a house in Portland, Oregon, as far from Long Island as I managed to get without leaving the country. I have never talked about that house, not with my wife, not with anyone. There are things you don't tell not because you don't remember them, but because saying them out loud makes them more real than you can bear. This morning I opened the newspaper. I wasn't looking for anything specific. It was a normal Tuesday. Coffee, newspaper, the sound of my kids upstairs. It was on page 3. Amityville, New York, November 13th, 1974. 6 members of the DeFeo family found dead in their sleep. Ronald DeFeo Jr., 23 years old, arrested. He allegedly killed his father, mother, 2 brothers and 2 sisters while they slept. All 6 in the same position, face down, arms at their sides. Nobody woke up. Nobody heard anything. When questioned by police, DeFeo said he heard voices. I put the newspaper down on the table. I looked at my coffee. I thought about my father, standing straight in the doorway, the bolt turning from the inside. 16 years of silence. 16 years of telling myself it was over, that he had kept the door closed. Maybe he kept it closed. Maybe the thing just waited. Voices. DeFeo heard voices. My father, in those last weeks, went down to the basement at 3:15 and spoke in a language that doesn't exist. I folded the newspaper. I put it under the table. I finished my coffee. My kids were arguing about something upstairs. Something stupid, something normal, the kind of argument you forget after 5 minutes. I didn't call anyone. There was nothing to say. My father stayed in that house for 16 years. It wasn't enough. Or maybe it was exactly enough, and someone, after him, did the wrong thing. I will never know. The address was printed in the article. 112 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. Same number, same street. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in 16 years, I heard 5 notes, 6 notes, the silence between one and the next. I opened my eyes. My kids were still arguing upstairs. I left the newspaper on the table and went to them. I never wrote in this diary again.
This is everything that was in the diary. 16 pages. The last one written in November 1974. James Aldrich disappeared in 1991. The same year someone found those boxes in a storage unit on Long Island. Nobody knows where he went. Nobody ever investigated. There was nothing to investigate. A middle-aged man who disappears. It happens. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue still exists. If you search online, you'll find it. And if you look at the photos long enough, you'll notice something. The upstairs window. It's always open. Follow the midnight candles. The next candle is already lit. It's waiting for you. But tonight, don't open any windows.